There are cities that have a way of entering people's memory that has no rational explanation. It is not only the beauty. Though San Francisco is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, it is not only the history, though it has a history that fills entire books. It is not only the culture, though it has produced more cultural movements per square kilometer than almost any other city in the United States. It is something more diffuse and more permanent. San Francisco is a city that installs itself in the mind of whoever visits it and never leaves. A city that when you see it again in a film or a photograph years after visiting, produces that specific feeling of recognition and nostalgia that only cities that truly mattered to you can produce. The first time you see the Golden Gate Bridge from the Marin Headlands, with the fog that half wraps it and the Pacific roaring below, and San Francisco glowing in the distance behind it, you understand where that reputation comes from. It is one of the most cinematic views in the world, in the most literal sense. Countless films have used it as a backdrop, because no constructed set can replicate what geography produced there by accident over millions of years. But San Francisco as a 2026 World Cup host city has a particularity that other cities do not have. The stadium is not in San Francisco but in Santa Clara, in the heart of Silicon Valley, about 60 kilometers south of the city. Levi's Stadium, which during the tournament becomes the San Francisco Bay Area Stadium, is the home of the San Francisco 49ers of the NFL and is located in a zone completely different in character and energy from the city that carries the name of the host. This means that World Cup visitors have two distinct experiences available: that of the stadium and its Silicon Valley surroundings, and that of San Francisco proper, which is where most people are going to want to spend their time when there is no match. The 6 matches played at Levi's Stadium are: on June 13th, Qatar against Switzerland from Group B. On June 16th, Austria against Jordan from Group J. On June 19th, the European Playoff C winner against Paraguay from Group D. On June 22nd, Jordan against Algeria from Group J. On June 25th, Paraguay against Australia from Group D. And on July 1st, a round of 32 match between the Group D winner and a third-place team. FIFA. The match on June 13th between Qatar and Switzerland deserves particular reflection. Qatar is the defending tournament host, the team that organized the 2022 World Cup, and in that historic tournament suffered the first group stage elimination by a host nation in World Cup history. Returning to a World Cup as a team that qualified on merit, and doing so in San Francisco against Switzerland, one of the most solid and best organized teams in Europe, is the kind of match that has its own narrative beyond the 90 minutes. The Bay Area Host Committee has expressed enthusiasm for welcoming Algeria, Australia, Austria, Jordan, Paraguay, Switzerland, Qatar, and the European Playoff C winner, highlighting that the region is one of the most diverse and globally connected in the world. U.S. Department of State. The Jordan against Algeria match on June 22nd is another that carries special weight in the Bay Area context. The region has a significant Arab and Arab American community, and both teams represent countries with active diasporas in California. The Algerian community on the U.S. West Coast, though smaller in number than in France, is passionate and vocal, and the Jordanian supporters who will arrive from all over the world to see their team in their second consecutive World Cup are going to bring an energy that Levi's Stadium has probably never seen in any NFL match. Paraguay against Australia on June 25th closes the Group D group stage at the stadium and is a match that could have direct implications on the standings that also affect the United States, as all 4 teams in the group compete for the same spots. For Paraguayan and Australian supporters, 2 communities with significant presence in California, that match is life or death in the most footballing sense of the term. For getting to Levi's Stadium from San Francisco, the most practical option is the train. The Caltrain line, the Bay Area Regional Rail System, connects San Francisco with Santa Clara with relatively frequent service, and the stadium is steps from Santa Clara Station. The journey takes approximately 1 hour from downtown San Francisco and is the smartest way to travel. Alternatives are the car, with stadium parking available but with the usual Highway 101 traffic as a possible complication, and BART, the regional metro, which reaches Milpitas from where there is a connection to the stadium. On match days, there will be special transport services organized specifically for the World Cup. For accommodation, the San Francisco Bay Area as a destination offers great variety, but requires thinking about the region's geography. The San Francisco Bay Area is one of the most diverse and globally connected regions in the world, U.S. Department of State, and that diversity is reflected in the accommodation options too. If you want to be in San Francisco City, the Union Square and Soma neighborhoods are the most central and best connected to transport toward the stadium. The Mission District, the most Latin American neighborhood in San Francisco, with its Mexican and Central American community that has spent decades building one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in the city, is an option that during the World Cup will have a particularly festive energy with Paraguay's supporters. If you prefer to be closer to the stadium, the cities of San Jose and Santa Clara have more affordable hotel options and more direct transport to Levi's Stadium, an option many visitors do not consider, but which can be the most memorable. Staying in Berkeley or Oakland on the other side of the bay, connected to San Francisco by BART and by the iconic Bay Bridge, Berkeley has a university and progressive energy that is unique in the world, with independent bookshops, coffee houses that have spent decades being the center of the city's intellectual life, and an architecture that combines American craftsman style with European architectural influence. Oakland has a gastronomic and cultural scene that in recent years has surpassed many San Francisco neighborhoods in creativity and originality, with a vibrant artistic community and restaurants that represent the cultural diversity of the Bay in a way that few American cities can replicate. And now the San Francisco experience itself, which is where the World Cup is going to come alive beyond the stadium. The Golden Gate Bridge is the most recognizable image of San Francisco and one of the most beautiful constructions in the history of human engineering. But seeing it from outside is not the same as crossing it. The bridge has a pedestrian path and a bicycle lane, and walking its almost 3 kilometers of length, with the views of the Bay and the Pacific Ocean and the city of San Francisco behind you, is an experience that takes about 45 minutes and stays in the memory forever. The recommendation is to go early in the morning, before the mass tourism arrives, and bring a jacket even in summer, because the wind on the bridge can be very cold even in July. Alcatraz, the most famous federal prison in the world, located on an island in the middle of the Bay, is today a national park that receives millions of visitors a year. Ferries leave from Fisherman's Wharf and the island tour, which includes the original prison with its intact cells and an audio tour narrated by former convicts and former guards, is one of the best executed tourist experiences in the United States. Booking in advance is essential. Tickets sell out weeks ahead, especially in summer. The Haight-Ashbury neighborhood is the place where the world changed in the summer of 1967, when thousands of young Americans arrived in San Francisco to participate in the Summer of Love, the hippie movement that transformed Western culture in a way still felt today. The corner of Haight and Ashbury remains a place of pilgrimage for those with historical curiosity or generational nostalgia. With vintage clothing shops, independent record stores, and an alternative neighborhood energy that has survived all the city's transformations. The Mission District is the Latin American heart of San Francisco, and during the World Cup, it is going to be the most festive neighborhood in the city. The murals covering the walls of 24th Street and Valencia Street are among the most important in Latin American urban art in the United States, painted over decades by community artists who narrate the story of immigration, resistance, and cultural celebration. The taquerias of the Mission, especially the legendary La Taqueria on Mission Street, produce burritos that supporters from around the world are going to remember much longer than some of the matches they watch at the stadium. The ferry building on the Embarcadero is the most important gourmet market in San Francisco, and one of the best in the world. On Saturday mornings, the farmers market that sets up outside the building turns the waterfront into a celebration of California's agricultural and artisan products. Point Reyes cheeses, Napa Valley wines, Tomales Bay oysters, Acme bread sourdough, Central Valley fruits with a flavor that fruits grown in other conditions cannot match. It is the place where the chefs of the Bay's best restaurants go to buy their menu ingredients, and it is also the place where any World Cup visitor can understand in an hour what makes California gastronomy one of the most influential in the world. Silicon Valley is literally next to the stadium, and while it is not a tourist destination in the conventional sense, it has a couple of places worth visiting for those curious about the industry that has most changed the world in the last 30 years. Apple's campus in Cupertino, designed by architect Norman Foster, is a glass and steel circle of almost 1 kilometer in diameter that from the outside looks like a spacecraft that landed in the California suburbs. You cannot enter, but you can walk around it and see from the Apple Park Visitor Center, which is public and has the most visited Apple store in the world. The Computer History Museum in Mountain View is one of the most fascinating museums in the United States for anyone curious about how we arrived at the digital world we inhabit. The collection includes the first computers in history, the original prototypes of the devices that changed human communication, and exhibitions that tell the complete history of the computing revolution from its origins in Silicon Valley garages to the artificial intelligence models of the present. One last thing San Francisco has that no other World Cup venue can offer: the cable car. The historic trams that have climbed and descended the hills of San Francisco since 1873, declared a National Historic Landmark, are the only cable car system still operating in the world. Getting on one at Powell Street, holding onto the running board as the tram climbs the impossible slope of California Street with the views of the Bay opening behind you, and getting off at Fisherman's Wharf is one of those experiences that condenses in 10 minutes everything San Francisco has that is unique and unrepeatable. The San Francisco Bay Area in the summer of 2026 is going to be one of the most complete experiences the World Cup can offer. A region that combines a city of extraordinary beauty, the most important technological birthplace on the planet, natural landscapes without equal, and a cultural diversity that makes every neighborhood a different world. It is not the loudest or most festive World Cup venue. It is probably the most beautiful.